I want to talk now about what I'm referring to as my big idea. And the big idea itself is this: we as human beings don't like feeling like we're wrong about things. And I think we don't want to be wrong or feel like we're wrong more so than we actually want to be right. So it's about how we perceive the world and how we feel about the world. That's really, really important. And I wanted to start this quote unquote big idea with a story that some of you are familiar with. It's the parable of the blind men and the elephant. And this comes to us from Buddhist texts from around 500 BC, and it shows up in a lot of things around that time. And I borrowed this version of it actually from somebody I'm going to give credit to in just a second. But the story goes something like this. 6 blind men are brought to examine an elephant that has come to their village. The first man touches the trunk and says that the elephant is like a thick snake. The second man touches the tusk and says that the elephant is like a spear. The third man touches the ear and says the elephant is like a fan. The fourth touches the leg and say that the elephant is like a tree. The fifth touches the side of the elephant and says the elephant is like a wall. And then the sixth touches the tail and says the elephant is like a rope. Each of the blind men is convinced that he is right and that everyone else is wrong. And the reasoning behind this is what I want to say is just a few things about this story. One, I believe, and there's scientific evidence, I believe, to confirm this, that objective reality exists. This is the elephant. There is something outside of our perception that exists. That's the elephant. But our perception will only allow us to create within our own minds a subjective reality, a version of objective reality. This is the blind men and their conception of what the elephant is. The other thing that's important is the best way for us to truly understand what's going on is through science. We can actually scientifically go up and start to look at the elephant. This would be like in the parable, in the metaphor, that these are people with sight. They're going to examine, they're going to measure, they're going to see what truly objective reality is. And it's science that gets us closer to discovering objective reality, because science is a process by where we say we don't know what reality is. We're going to take this process and we're going to try to figure it out. The last point that I want to make with this is I truly believe that the closer we come to objective reality using something like science, the more successful we are as human beings. And so we should strive to, instead of feeling like we're right about something, like the blind men, and being convinced that we're right about something because of our limited perception, we should strive to actually try to understand objective reality, because when we do so, we're going to actually have more success. Now, I have taken some of this from this person, I don't want to make his name, Mr. Bloom, who wrote an article, The Blind Man and the Elephant. And what it reminded me of, and they had the quote in his blog post, was, it's not what you know that gets you in trouble. It's not what you don't know. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And this comes to us from Twain. We sometimes become so convinced of our own position that we neglect the fact that we have things to learn, that we cannot see objective reality as it is. We're not capable as human beings. We're not hardwired to do so. And so this is a real problem. We believe that we see everything there is when we don't. And I've seen this in my training. I've seen this in my agile practice, where and I'm not alone in this. I've talked with many other agile coaches about this, and many other coaches, not just in the agile world, but personal coaches, executive coaches, et cetera, is that one of the biggest problems we have is people come to us and say, yeah, I know agile. I've been doing it for years and years and years. And it's really hard, therefore, to get through to people who think they already know, whether they do or not. And so we as coaches generally have a better chance of actually being successful and influencing people when those people say, I don't know anything at all. If you had given me a choice between teaching somebody who says, I know agile, and teaching somebody who says, I just heard the word agile yesterday, I'm going to take the latter, because they're going to have the humility to approach the subject and have an open mind. And the problem is this: it has to do with our inherent biases as human beings, why we want to feel right about something rather than just being right about something. We're not looking for objective truth necessarily. We're not looking for objective reality. We're looking to confirm the subjective reality that we've created, the stories that we tell ourselves. I was just reading the book Sapiens, and they talk about this, the stories that we tell ourselves. We fall in love with the stories. And we have, there was at some point in our evolution, there's an environmental pressure or some kind of benefit to thinking that we're always right about something, as opposed to, this subjective versus objective reality. And so, interestingly enough, there are multiple biases that we as human beings have that get in the way. And these are things that are hard coded into every single individual. I'm not special because I know they exist. I'm just as human as anybody else. And these biases, I'm just going to give you a few of the biases that nudge us to behave in this way. One of them is one of the most insidious biases of all, which is confirmation bias. We do not seek to find the truth. We seek to mold the truth into what we already think. We look for things that confirm what we believe, as opposed to looking for things that would disconfirm it. And the scientific method is obviously finding things that would disconfirm what we believe to be true. Egocentric bias, self-serving bias, Dunning-Kruger effect, which I've just written recently on LinkedIn. Some of you might have seen. Choice supportive bias, backfire effect, sunk cost fallacy, belief perseverance. All of this stuff is really baked into our psyche. It's baked into our DNA as human beings, and it causes us or forces us or nudges us, whatever word you want to use, into not necessarily seeing reality as it is, but trying to confirm what we already believe, trying to make our subjective reality all there is. And this is a problem. This is a real issue when it comes to when we talk about being successful, because again, I believe that the closer our subjective reality is to the objective reality, the more successful we're going to be. Though there's no guarantee in the VUCA world. You can do everything right and still lose in the VUCA world. That's just the way the world is. I think we all get that. We're all adults. So what is the hope? The hope is humility. I've often said, I'm not the only one, there's a lot of coaches who've said this, and there's a lot of great leaders who said this. We have to approach the world with humility. And it's not easy, because we're not built to approach the world with humility. It's something we have to work on. It's something certainly I have to work on every day. But when we approach the world with humility, when we say we can't see everything there is, then we will start to figure out the ways that we can do it. And the way that we do that is what science does. We assume to a certain degree that we're wrong in our perceptions, and then try to make it right. So hopefully that was intelligible and something that will give some folks a little bit of help. And that's my big idea for the day, is we have to be careful that we don't spend so much of our energy in trying to feel right and spend a little bit more energy actually being right.